Tenable Network Security, creators of Nessus, the world's best vulnerability scanner. Jumpstart your security program today and evaluate Security Center CV, the continuous monitoring solution. For more information, visit them on the web at tenable.com. ProXPN is the leading VPN service offering free accounts, excellent premium features, and an outstanding commitment to privacy and security online. Use the discount code WEEKLY and save 50% off for life. NetSparker, the developers of desktop and cloud-based web application security scanners that enable you to automatically identify vulnerabilities in your web applications and web services. NetSparker scanners employ a unique and dead-accurate vulnerability scanning engine that automatically verifies vulnerabilities with a proof of concept. For more information, visit them on the web at netsparker.com or email them at contact@netsparker.com.
I'm totally messing with the guys in the back room. I just wasn't speaking. I can see them now going, where's the audio?
You freaked me out a bit.
They're going to kick me on the way out of the door. I know they are. So welcome back to Stories of the Week. And Russ and Chris have graciously decided to stay with us. And we've still got Joff and Carlos on the line. We don't have a lot of stories this week. For me, it was pretty slow, and Paul loves to load the show notes full of stories. And, well, Paul had other things to do this week, like be with his wife with a newborn and so forth and so on. But I did have a couple of stories that were in there for things that I saw this week that were pretty interesting. The first one, my story number one from the wiki, which I thought was the most fascinating one of all of them, was I entitled Typosquatting Package Managers. So what is this whole Typosquatting password managers things? And I'm like reading this article and I'm like getting through it, and then I had that aha moment was, oh my God. So essentially what this gentleman did as part of some research, as opposed to typosquatting domain names, he went to some of the open package management services for programming libraries, Python, Node.js, and Ruby. All of the public repositories where you can create your own libraries, and created ones that were typo mismatched library names, so that when you go to install the libraries for use within your project and you mistype the name, it installs one.
Ooh.
With backdoors.
Ooh, that's brilliant.
Backdoor no baby.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in this case, lots of babies, because the gentleman found that it was possible by doing some of these, it was wormable after the post install and use the libraries.
Well, and here's the other thing. Just think about it. You're doing software development. You and I have been in this position, Larry. Lots of other people. You get to some sort of compile. You go on as fast as you can because you just want to get through it. Some sort of dependency, and you're like, "Hey, pip install, blah blah blah."
Yeah,
and
pip install requests is one of his examples, and you misspell requests.
Yeah, and you just move on because you're moving so quickly. This totally would work.
Yeah,
but my favorite is those package managers that let you upload stuff from somebody else. For example, Nugget. When you look at Nugget in the Windows environment, I can upload. There are like 3 different people or 2 that have uploaded the sysinternal tools to it, and it's not Marcus Innovich, it's not Microsoft, it's somebody else. Simply went, oh, let me upload this. Somebody will find it useful. But what it's saying that Carlos didn't create his own version of Sysmon or something like that and uploaded it there and say, hey, here's Sysmon. You go Nugget install Sysmon.
Yep, exactly. So you have malicious application that might not normally exist, and this one is doing the typosquatting type of stuff. So yeah, pip install requests, and you misspell requests, it pulls down the request libraries that have all of the exact same functionality as the typical requests and all named the same that you would from the legitimate package, but when you call certain methods, it does additional stuff as opposed to the stuff that you would expect.
It just goes to show, though, if you put your mind into monitor mode for the entire day and realize everything that you do during the day, that you just assume certain things. I mean, think about it. We're security people. We should be mistrustful of every action that we take.
Yep.
And we don't. We're like, all right, what's the trade-off between, risk and reward? How do I deal with this particular thing? Even MD5s if you're downloading a particular package manager and something like that, or whichever repository you go to, et cetera, we make a lot of assumptions. There is no perfect trust model that we're using right now.
Exactly.
Well, I would say that we don't for the same reasons that everybody has, and that is there's some sort of business reality. We're trying to meet a deadline. We're trying to move through something. We don't often have time to turn on our most guarded mode in all instances, and that's just reality.
And stuff doesn't work right a lot of times, and you're like, how do I get by this problem? How do I verify this particular package that they,
Well, it came from the code repository or from the code package management. Clearly, it's good.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, for years I had the mentality that every single thing I was going to put on my system, I was going to compile by hand, right?
So you use Gentoo, right?
But even that has a flaw, right?
Right.
Well, sure. I mean, because then it's like, how deep down the rabbit hole do you want to go? Right. Everything is flawed at some level. It's just where are you setting your trust bar, right? And then, I moved away from that. Why? Because I don't have time to compile all those dependencies. I just don't. Right.
Yep. So to sort of round it off real quick, he found 3 different ways to find do typo squatting, creative typo names, so misspelling requests, coffee script with 1 E instead of 2 E's, typos for, and not so much typos, but in the open package managers where packages have not already been registered, so urlib2 is private. It's not in these general package managers, and then you go and install it, and it's that, but it's not from the official distributors. And then some
kind of thing.
Exactly. And then some algorithmically determined typo names, and one of them's he has his request with a 7 instead of a U. So if you type something on the keyboard and you don't do the U, you do the 7 character above it, it could install a package. So I thought that was kind of interesting how he did some of that mapping. And I thought about, well, that's great. You can call the libraries and have it do some other stuff. And the specific example here with Python that I thought was fantastic is depending on how you go down and pull some of these packages down, you may end up having to run the standard Python setup.py. And every time I do this, I do Python setup.py and go, and it goes and installs the stuff, and it gets to the end and says, can't copy stuff to these locations because you need to have super user rights. Yeah. So what do? I do sudo python setup.py install, and what am I now doing? I'm running this Python installer from somewhere I have no idea as root for my typo squatted stuff. It was some research, and he found that 394, all sorts of interesting statistics. He found that 17,289 unique hosts downloaded his 200 packages that he had populated through all of those. Of the ones that he was able to get a lookup for the domains, which was 65% of those 17,000 hosts, 2.mil, 23.gov, and 394 EDUs, and 6,000 or so from .com and .net. Yeah.
The .mil is the scary part.
Yeah.
I mean,
1,200 from Amazon AWS.
Not that much once you learn how they run their stuff.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. Exactly. But still, I mean, I think that's kind of interesting in that in this short period of time in which he did the experiment, 17,000 unique hosts did typo squatted packages.
So do you know if there's research on that mimics what the research on password variations? I mean, so what are the algorithms that you use to figure out what,
I don't know. He did, as part of this stuff that I'm looking at, he did not release which algorithms he used, I don't believe. Sorry. Request with a 7 instead of request. Algorithmically, typo candidates are suggestions from algorithms like the Levenstein distance. So the distance between various keys and keyboards.
Okay.
So
that's what the guy who took the drone up was using to calculate your,
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep. Cool. So I figured, Carlos, you'd appreciate this one for sure. And Joff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, so some of the other ones there, one that was kind of interesting, given that red teaming is the new sexy in IT security. Story number 2 was 20 years of red teaming lessons learned. Now, the article definitely has a military red teaming spin to it, but the gentleman who wrote it also has very much cyber, and I use the word drink, background to it. And some of them I thought were things that we do every day, and I think a lot of good pen test firms and those types of things look at all of these same sort of things that he's said that from the 20 years of experience. Number 3 for me was like the absolute clincher of all of this, and number 3 was no artificial constraints.
Yes.
So when you start going to a red team and saying, no, you can't do this, then with these hosts at this time with these ports and these IP addresses, now go have that same argument, not with the red teamers, but
the attacker.
With the attacker, right? And that's one of the things that my good friend and former coworker Tom Liston, when he was at InGuardians, he was on a call and frustrated with a customer because we were doing a red team style pen test. At the time, it was a no holds barred pen test. Was what we referred to it as, and they said, "Great, we want this. We want the whole shebang, but you have to do it after hours. You have to do it during non-business hours." And he's like, "I don't want to work overnight." So he said to them, "Well, that's great, but do you have that agreement with the rest of the internet that you can only deliver attacks to your network?"
Yeah, well, that's the perfect
hours?
answer. Yeah.
Right, and the answer was silence. Needless to say, Tom had to work overnight. But so one of those artificial constraints, you want to do a red team exercise, and by sort of the pseudo definition of red teaming is that it's a no holds barred pen test. It's attack simulation, and it's attack modeling, and it's attack just like a real attacker would do. So having some constraints on that doesn't give you a real target.
Marcus Ranum, about 20 years ago, posted something on the pen testing mailing list, which made me laugh, which was one sentence: "Pen testing is a colossal waste of time." I quote. And it was interesting because I talked to him about it, and I said, "What did you mean by that?" And he didn't actually remember doing it. Marcus just lobs bombs here and there, and it doesn't mean much to him. But part of it was that, right? His point was that pen testing, the way that we do a lot of it, is not that particularly useful. It depends upon the quality of the pen tester. It depends upon the scope of it. It depends upon what the goal is. It's not going to find everything.
Sure.
Why are you doing it in the first place? So there's a lot of reasons he threw it out there, but he was basically trying to just
Stir the pot.
Exactly. Make people think, why are we doing
Yep.
this? And that's a perfect example.
Yep. So the other one, number 4, is definitely one that kind of close to my heart. Number 4, there is no spoon. From the Matrix.
There is no spoon.
Yeah. Go figure. I mean, I have a spoon tattooed on my thumb.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Is that what that's
I thought it was
for?
a phallic gun.
Yeah, no, it's a spoon. It's not a
Penis.
It's or a penis. It's also not. Yeah.
It's not related to Uranus.
Or it could be.
Well, sometimes it's just a measuring device. No, never mind. Yeah, no. So in Guardians, when you get promoted to the full-fledged consultant, you have a spooning ceremony, and you are presented with a spoon. There is no spoon, and we are a bend your own spoon employer. So you have to bend your own. You're given a straight spoon, and you have to pick whether you bend it left or right. And there's specific meaning between both of those. Wow. So that one, it's very geeky and very, very much a part of the InGuardians culture. So there is no spoon. But it also has lots of metaphorical and gets you thinking about sort of this whole thing in that, you start looking at a problem and you realize that there just really is no problem. It's a matter of how you're approaching going into some environment. And it's all about success and figuring out the ways to success. And I think that was a great thing, is that there's no network that's going to be impenetrable. It's just a matter of figuring out the way in which it is. So.
Yeah, one of my favorite articles is when he actually rappelled down the building to go through a window to get into the office that he wanted to go in. So he was able to get to the roof and then, from here I have access to the window. So what he actually did is he rappelled down the building and just went through the window into the office that he wanted to get in.
Yep. Yep. Number 6 on this one, to make it quick to move on a little bit. Tools are not talent. Yeah, you get
Script
all the tools in the world, even really sophisticated stuff, and yeah, and this brings me to one of the articles that I read by, I want to say it was Chris Gates a number of years ago, and it was the title of the article was From Low to Pwned. Like taking that tool and taking output from a tool that just did stuff, and taking that low categorized vulnerability and tailoring that into domain admin on a Windows network. I mean, that's a tool telling you that this vulnerability is low and you're probably going to ignore it.
Right.
Yet it led to total compromise of the customer or the enterprise network. So, yeah, the tool output and the tool is not the answer. It's about some of the talent.
It's interesting. That's sort of two ways, right? It's about the attackers or the pen testers. It's also about the defenders. We rely so much on technology now.
Sure.
And that's one of the things that I see all the time. We're not investing resources into people. It's hard to get people. Don't get me wrong. We have a talent shortage apparently, but
Yeah, it was 0% unemployment in our
exactly.
industry.
Yep. And so it cuts both ways. That particular statement.
Sure. We've been the same thing at InGuardians. We've been trying to hire for pretty much the entire time I've been there, 2.5 years, and it's hard to find good people. And
It is that's absolutely true. Black Hills has the same challenge. It's very, very hard to find good people, and people with depth. It's not just when I say good people. The definition goes way beyond. Hey, I've got my XYZ certification. No, it's like, do you really know the industry? Have you been around the track? Do you know what a network is? Do you know what this and that is? And do you have some talent? That's really difficult.
And of course, one of our big ones too is, can you write?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And usually there are a good number of folks that we interview that have some technical acumen. They can talk to folks. They're smart. They know at least some of about the industry and have some depth, and they can't write.
That's
their
a
way out of
universal
a
problem.
paper bag.
It's true. I mean, I'm a computer science teacher, and I can damn well tell you that.
Yep.
Oof.
Encourage your students to take as many technical writing courses as electives as they can possibly fit in if they want to succeed.
But let's face it, the industry that we're in, all of what you just said, that's a high bar. It's a lot to ask for.
Yep, absolutely. And now, granted, in many of the cases, we are not hiring junior analysts. We're hiring senior folks. So,
Well, and they're spending a lot of time working on syntax as opposed to grammar, right? I mean, syntax for coding versus grammar for prose.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and there's always a mix between you. So to your point, Joff, you have to hire a few people who are already completely experienced. They understand. They're well-rounded. They get it all, and that's probably 20% at best of your staff. And then you mentor up the other 80% or whatever. So you have to be able to commit that and figure out how you want to mix the talent, how much time you actually spend in the field, how much time you spend mentoring.
Yep, absolutely. And we're getting long in the tooth, and only 5 stories in the show notes. But number 5 was one we touched on a little bit earlier that I want to make sure we sort of round ourselves out with for the night. GPS denial of service. So there was an announcement that GPS will become unreliable while some large-scale military tests are being conducted in portions of the southwestern United States.
Nevada and California.
In Nevada and California, to the point that on some of the aviation forums, and in fact, this is a link to a story on AVWeb that says if you are flying specific types of aircraft that are heavily reliant on GPS for navigation, we highly suggest that you switch over to manual navigation or completely avoid these areas during that time.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. It happens, right?
Absolutely. And the part that I find that's interesting is that one, it's allegedly government, military type of areas in which this testing is going to be, and it's going to be disruption, planned disruption of GPS over a significant area. And we talk about tools and having folks reliant on specific technology and tools that we have pilots, automobiles, phones, all of these things with all of these services that are large, that can be largely reliant on location information and GPS, and then what happens when that goes away because we become so reliant on it. Of course, I'm really curious as to exactly what in the heck they're doing to disrupt the service.
Over Nevada, you said?
Well, Nevada, New
Yeah.
Mexico, and
Yeah.
California, and that's to what we talked about earlier. Elon Musk had an interview, or had an appointment, a meeting with the Pentagon today, and that's when he tweeted. He said that he was building a flying suit like Iron Man, and so the whole internet went crazy. Like, what? That's why they're shutting down, the West Coast.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
He's testing his new suit.
It's
so.
all Elon's fault. Yeah.
Yep. So let's see. Centered in China Lake, California, home of Navy's China Lake Naval Weapons Center. So let's see. FAA is warning GPS signals down to 50 feet could be unreliable or unavailable between 9:30 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. local time over a radius of 253 nautical miles.
Wow.
There will
That's a large area.
So, which includes the LA Basin, Bay Area, and Las Vegas. There will be further outages of similar potential duration June 9th, 21st, 23rd, 28th, and 30th. The circles expand with the altitude at 40,000 feet and a circular area of the southwest 950 nautical miles across, reaching central Oregon, Colorado, and New Mexico.
Good God.
So what's going to happen if the Coast Guard needs to get a boat or navigate a boat into somehow through GPS? I mean, you can see from this graph, not that you can see it on camera, but
Yeah.
you can see that it's
huge.
spinning out in the bay. Yeah,
It's huge. Also, knock out GPS reliance services, including WAAS, GBAS, and ADSB. So all of those reliant on GPS. There was also some. What's the other European standard for
GLONASS?
GPS? What was it?
GLONASS?
I think-
GLONASS, the
GLONASS.
Russian one?
Yeah, I want to say they
GLONASS,
said
yeah.
it had a possibility to affect GLONASS as well.
And my bet is that they're somehow they're transmitting in the same radio frequency. This happens a lot for those of us that fly drones with that have GPS attached to them. You can actually, depending on your video transmitter that you decide to use, if you're doing FPV, you can actually knock out your GPS on your drone, and you're going like, I don't know, it's
What's going on?
yeah, it's toilet boiling and in the air, just going in circles, or all of a sudden your drone will go full tilt somewhere else because the GPS data that was getting was saying, oh, you're in the correct position, you're in the correct position. Then it gets a packet that says, nope.
All zeros.
You're 50 meters off, or you're a mile off, and goes, okay, correcting, whoop, and it goes over in that direction.
Good old flyaway
I
condition.
had that happen. I had a flyaway, and it landed in somebody who owns a local business around near the studio here in her backyard, 5 feet from her swimming pool, upside down. It was my first drone. It was the night that I had just gotten in the mail. It was the DJI Phantom 2. It was $1,500. And and then now I'm sort of like not a legend, I wouldn't say, but they make fun of me at a local restaurant, and they say that he will crash his drone in her backyard any day of the week. So that's kind of strange.
Yeah, and many times you'll see people calibrating close to metal or with their cell phone on their pocket, calibrating the GPS, and that's when they have all of those problems.
It's actually, there's a positive to this whole thing, which is that it does give us the chance to try out to exercise critical infrastructure and find out how resilient it is, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, because I know that in the maritime industry, they don't rely directly on or exclusively on GPS. They always have these checks and balances, for example.
Yep.
And-
Great sextant praxis.
Yeah.
The Navy still teaches how to do navigation via the stars.
They just
And they
started
should.
doing it
Using an
again.
astrolabe
They
or
stopped
whatever,
for a long time. The U.S. Navy. Yeah.
The Army and Marines, you still have to have your compass, and you know how to navigate and do orienteering with your compass.
No, I
that
think
reminds me
that's
of the novel Ghost Fleet. I don't know if you guys have read that one.
No.
Yeah, and Ghost Fleet is very, very, very technical. So not to give it away, let's say the Chinese decide that, oh no, we're gonna screw up the U.S. and since almost everything that they have is built around technology and our parts, they decide to launch a technical attack first against us. And one of the things they did is that they have their own space station. Beholden to us, they actually have a laser hidden in it. And when it comes to time to attack and invade Hawaii as their first target, first thing they do is they fry all of our satellites, including all of our GPS satellites and intelligence satellites. And all of a sudden, the entire U.S. force goes blind and lost.
Yep. So, Carlos, Ghost Fleet, a novel of the next World War by P.W. Singer and August Cole.
Yep.
Beautiful.
I highly recommend it.
In my wish list for Audible right now.
Put that one on the list.
Yep.
Yeah, especially like, okay, let's disable the F-35 jets.
Whoops.
Boop. Oh, they have a chip made by us. Cool.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Then again, that thing will. Yeah. For that jet, the thing I always say is we should hack the Chinese and just get the code from them with all of the fixes.
Nice. So, Carlos, thanks for that downing moment on the end. We're a bit over. Let's wrap it up and let's close it out. Gentlemen, do you want to give us some final parting words?
Well, I'm going to take us out, so I'll let everybody else give the final parting words. So,
No final parting words? Gentlemen, cue the music.
all right.
And with that, Joff?
Over and out. Have a good evening, everyone.
Yay. Bust a move, Carlos.